Hello and welcome to the Business Octopus, where we talk about all things sales, marketing, and technology. This is a live stream we run every week about 1:30 every Friday, and basically we want to talk about CRM, marketing automation, technology, and all the processes that go on in and around that, and that sort of thing. My name's Avon Collis. I'm the CRM and marketing automation specialist and partner at Relevate and all-around good guy. So normally every week we talk through some common questions and problems that we come across throughout our daily business, and generally in the sales and marketing field. Don't forget that if you have any questions, feel free to ask us in the chat feed. You can also go to our website, relevate.com.au, and raise a comment, a case, a question in the contact us form. And don't forget, if you're watching this anywhere, pop on over to our YouTube channel, give us a subscribe, a like, a thumbs up, hit the little bell so that you get notified when new videos come out. We constantly do training videos, how-tos, demos, walkthroughs, that sort of thing. So we also have a community at community.relevate.com.au where we talk about networking with other MarTech professionals, discuss ideas, building careers, fixing, issues that you're running in your business, that sort of thing. And one of the things that I want to talk about today is digital transformation and why you're doing it wrong. A lot of times people think of, things like digital transformation is updating something from a really old system to something that's new. And one of the problems with that, or with the word transformation, you think like a butterfly. The butterfly is, starts off as a larval form, and then it turns into a caterpillar, and then it eats some leaves, and then it turns into a butterfly, and then it dies. But it only does that once. So it's not really a good process and you're not really going to transform or be, renewed. If you do it once, it's just going to happen, and then it's going to go and fall flat. So digital transformation shouldn't just be a one-time deal. It should be something that you're doing on a regular basis. So, the thought of digital transformation sounds a little bit like it's got an end point, like it finishes somewhere. But it really should be an ever-evolving beast, something that you do over and over again, something repetitively. And a lot of the times, businesses struggle. That they think about, what does digital transformation mean to me as a small business owner, or even as a big business owner. It could be that we've been doing it this way for X amount of time. It's time to have a massive overhaul, rip up the roots, and start again somewhere else. And quite often, that's a huge, huge thing. The bigger your business gets, the more established you are, the more problematic those changes become. So, I think in terms of evolution, it kind of speaks to there being small changes over a long period of time, and a lot of them, So having that ability to adapt to the new environment means that you've got to constantly, you're growing, like, a body is growing new cells. It's adapting to its surrounds. You might have, thicker skin because you're doing lots of manual labor, or, like if you live at high altitude, you oxygenate your blood better. Like, there's changes that the body goes through to deal with its environment. The business is no different. So if continuous transformation needs to be continuous, theoretically, you've got to come up with the next thing all the time. You can't just, do, then stop. You've got to constantly come up with something else to do. So, I really promote having a backlog of ideas. Constantly you walk around and you go, oh, that's painful, never mind, and you just forget about it. Or, you write down or you go and action all these ideas, which is probably also a bad way to go about it, because then you kind of move forward in a haphazard way. What I suggest is having a pipeline or a backlog or a development list that you can, or an ideas list. We use a Kanban board in Microsoft Teams, and every time there's a new idea, I just can pull out my phone, quickly type it up, put it in there. If I really want, I can do a screen recording and put a link in there. I can put, any manner of things in the task item to help me ideate or come up with or remember what I was thinking at that time. Because at the time you go, oh, this is a real pain point because it took me hours, or it's really frustrating, or there's got to be a better way. And if you're thinking there's a better way, there probably is. So I like to use the task backlog because it's somewhere to store your ideas. Wouldn't it be great if you could do X? When you have time, the next thing you do is you go back to that list and you can review everything. This is where you get to enrich your ideas. You give them more detail. You go and have a second think about it. Is this really a problem? You combine ideas. Sometimes you may have put the idea several times in the list. Maybe that's a sign that you've come across this several times, or maybe it's a little bit more top of mind because when you're busy with 1,000 things, it's really, really hard to kind of have everything in focus at that point in time. So it's really good to be able to have that list to be able to go back, spend time, decide whether or not you should actually pursue that. Because there's usually a time and a cost to being to solving a problem, and combining your ideas might make it a richer idea, a much more defined, well executable solution. And so by having that review process, you can also filter out the stuff that's really either not high enough of a return or too high of a cost, or maybe come to some prioritization of both of those. And I would not avoid doing things because they're expensive, because potentially if the benefit is there, yes, you might be able to save 100 hours in that task, but if you only do that task once a year, is it worth spending $100,000 on? No, actually, if you calculate the billable cost of the 100 hours that it takes to do that task, it's going to cost you more than if you just did the task. So, working out the cost to benefit ratio on everything. Then have a go or no go criteria. Maybe, is it a big enough pain point? Is it just something that you can just do? Like, there are other things maybe that have a better business impact that are not super frustrating, or even if it is, it's just an annoying thing, but it really brings down morale. That could also be a good reason. So it doesn't always have to be financial. It could be that, this is a soul destroying task. We need to fix it so that the staff don't have to do it, so they don't leave. And sometimes people move jobs, not because the pay is bad, but because the work is bad. So, trying to weigh up the difference and the value between those two things. The other thing is making a continuous effort to improve. So scheduling that time to go and review all of those tasks, ideas, etc. And then also scheduling that time to actually deliver, maybe setting aside the budget to actually deliver on those ideas, on that pipeline of development and that digital transformation highway pipeline continuously. And the other thing, I guess, is, a lot of times people try to tweak a process they already have. Sometimes, if you do a big upheaval and you lift your roots and you go into some other, platform process, very big change in the business, then, that turns everything on its head. Now, I would say try things. Not everything has to be turned on its head, but also try to understand the capability that you'll be getting from whatever this new platform is. And you may have to redesign your processes, because you shouldn't put old processes into a new system. Sometimes it can be very similar. Sometimes you might have some additional capability that you can use or pull. But don't use a business process in a new system if it's really just going to slow you down. Banging your head against the wall is not a good idea. So if you're going to shake things up, that's one school of thought, and maybe play in both schools of thought temporarily and just imagine what it would be like if. But if you want to do small incremental changes, try things that you haven't thought of before. I'm pretty sure there's 100 examples, and one I can't think of right now, where something that was really not obvious is actually a really good way to do something for. Here's one example. Gold in very, very nanoparticle sizes has been known to improve the properties of other chemicals. Now, I don't imagine that many people would have thought off the bat, I'm going to try nanoparticle gold to improve this fuel or liquid or compound. No one would have thought of that off the top of their head. So unless you tried it, tested it, went with it, and then actually looked at the results, approach it like a science experiment, you'd never know that was actually going to be a beneficial method to use. So, test new things, try new things at the same time, ideate, imagine if, scenario out what things would be like if you did a big full change, and maybe you could even test that on a small scale, looking at results from other people, etc. And then, if you're going to change a process and you want to discuss it with other people, it's really, really hard to communicate that if it's all up in your head. So the best way to, decide whether or not a process is good, efficient, whether it should be ripped out, put in another system, is the first thing is just to draw it out. Whether that's a sketch pad, whether that's a drawing platforms, you've got Visio. If you use Microsoft, you've got Draw.io. It's a free platform. You've got Lucidchart. There's hundreds of them. And drawing it out allows you to have some aha moments. Oh, I forgot this step. Or maybe that doesn't make as much sense. Or what if this happened? What if that happened? Have some failure points. But drawing out a process allows you then to communicate it with others. So that's useful for when you're handing over to staff, when you're asking someone for advice, because you'll say, I've got this problem where blah, blah, blah happens. But then all they can conceptualize is what you've told them. And that's not even easy to do because they don't live the problem every day. But maybe seeing it all the way drawn on the map, there could be something like 10 steps way back at the start that if that was tweaked would change everything else down the pipeline. So, constantly making those or being able to put it into a drawing, constantly making tweaks and changes makes it easier to communicate, makes it easier to understand yourself what actually is the problem you're trying to solve. And it helps someone to understand that problem the first time without, when they don't live that reality. So when you're onboarding staff, when you're trying to even just tell like a consultant or someone else coming in that you're paying to help you, it'll accelerate their learning so that you actually get better bang for buck from their assistance. And lastly, I guess in hand with that is go out and learn some business analyst skills. Learn the wire diagramming that you need to know, because if you're going to do any form of digital transformation, the first thing you should do is whiteboard it. 5 minutes spent in planning will save 5 hours of banging your head against the wall, doing it the wrong way. Or maybe you didn't capture the right information, or you spent 100 hours building a particular process, and then you figure out that process wasn't that great after all. Or the fact that no one wanted to use it, or no one was ever going to use it. It's not the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. You need to try with a little bit, do some market research, see if people are actually going to take it on, and then invest the time. Okay, so nice short sharp for today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us on our comment feeds in any of the socials that you're watching this through. Feel free to send a contact form through the website, relevate.com.au. And if you want to see some of the other ones, you can catch them on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us to share and reach some others. We've got tons of tips, tricks, podcasts, and screen share demos, etc. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening. And if you like, come back and see us again on Friday next week at about 1:30 p.m. Till then, take care.